We're officially 9 days away from the 2025 NFL draft. This really is the home straight now. I'm finalizing my big board, which I'll do in a separate video. But for now, I thought it's a good time to do what I suspect will be my penultimate mock draft. This is going to be a mixture of predictions and what I would do the predictions to keep it a bit more realistic and what I would do, because it is pretty hard to predict what a lot of teams are going to do. And before I get into it, make sure you subscribe for more NFL draft content. Hit the subscribe button right now. I would really appreciate it. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, we do not need to spend any time on the first overall pick. It's going to be obviously Cam Ward, the quarterback from Miami. I think that's what will happen. That is what I would do. He's a potential franchise quarterback, got the physical traits, arm strength, athleticism, playmaking ability, both in and out of structure. Just makes so much sense. Now, the Browns, this is either going to be Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. And I suspect with where they're at as a team, they already have Myles Garrett. They've locked him down, considering, Martin Emerson Jr., the other cornerback, isn't fantastic opposite Denzel Ward. And then you've also got kind of a lacking wide receiver core as well. I think it is going to be Travis Hunter here. And I think for the Browns, he will play both sides of the ball. He will be that. I would play him as a full-time cornerback, replacing Martin Emerson Jr. next to Denzel Ward. That'd be a really good cornerback pairing. And then he'd be able to come on for the 15 snaps a game, I would say 10 to 15 snaps a game as a receiver, be really good on third downs, goal line situations, key downs. He's a fantastic player, probably the most talented player in this class. Now, the Giants. So there's been new rumors swirling. Previously, it's been very much the case. The word on the street has been that Shedeur Sanders at 3 is definitely not in play, that it seems like Shedeur Sanders is not going to go inside the top 3 picks. However, he has now done a private workout, or the Giants rather have gone out to Boulder for a private workout with Shedeur Sanders. Now, what that suggests to me is that ownership are beginning to get involved here. They want to make sure that all the due diligence has been done on this quarterback. And that's when things can get a little bit messy, especially considering that Brian Dable and Joe Schoen, the head coach and the general manager, don't exactly have the most job security right now, and probably can't really say to Joe Mara, the owner, that, trust us on this one. But what I think the Giants are going to do, I think they are going to go best player available here at 3. And I think they're going to say to the Mara family, the owners, we're going to draft a quarterback, either trade back up into the back end of the first round if a quarterback falls, or draft one with the top of the second pick, which I believe they have. If I look at their other picks, they've got pick 34. So they have a very early second, with which I suspect they will draft a quarterback with, even if the value's there or not, as a way to kind of keep their job. So I'm also going to go down that road, and I'm going to say that they're going to go best player available. And yes, that is Abdul Carter, and that's what I'm going to go with. Fundamentally, I'm not moved by Kayvon Thibodeau, right? I'm just not. And Abdul Carter is an upgrade to Thibodeau. Now, yes, you kind of got similar styles of edge rusher, kind of that like speed, athletic edge rusher off the edge of Brian Burns and Carter, but I do think they're different enough whereby that's not an overlap. And fundamentally, I would just trade Thibodeau on draft day if there's a market for him, which I suspect there definitely would be. So that's what I would do. And if he wants to stay and be a rotational guy, that's also fine by me. But Kayvon Thibodeau is not stopping me from having Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter, sexy Dexy, and Brian Burns. That is an unbelievable defensive line. You've then got some good talent, Tyler Nubin, you've got Deontay Banks. That's a really good young defense. I like it a lot. Now, the Patriots at 4. Mike Vrabel has said that he views, or the Patriots are viewing, Will Campbell as a left tackle. And so do I. I think Will Campbell would be my pick here. I have him as a top 10 player. I know he's got shorter arm length. But ultimately, I do feel like they're going to go with someone that can really stand up at tackle and not have that question of moving inside or outside. You've got a young quarterback in Drake May who you can't really afford to potentially draft a guard that highly with, considering that I think he's a guy. I think he has the potential to be that franchise quarterback, and he needs a tackle. So I'm going to take Amar Membu. Now, the issue with Membu is that he is a right tackle and the Patriots need a left tackle. And Membu has never played on the left side, not in high school. He's always been a right side guy, always been that at Missouri. That is kind of why Campbell would, I think, be in play here. But I have gone Will Campbell with the Patriots before. So to mix it up, I'm going to go with Membu, and we can work out who's going to switch to what side when it comes to that. Now, the Jags at 5. If it's what I would do, I would go for Teta or McMillan here. But I think what's going to happen is Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan. He is really good. I know that some people like Brett Coleman have really fair grievances about his pass rush production, kind of got a lower pass rush win rate. But I just think that he is really talented. He's got the physical tools. He's really flexible, got good core strength. He's got active and violent hands. I really like what he can do on the interior of that defensive line. You've got Trayvon Walker, you've got Josh Hines-Allen at the edge positions, and the general manager of the Jags has said that they're going to look to bolster the trenches, and Graham, I think, is a top 5 player in this class. Now, the Raiders at 6. Previously, I've gone with Ashton Jeanty here for the Raiders, because Pete Carroll's not a spring chicken, he loves the run game, and obviously Jeanty's incredible. But I don't think, considering they have Ohio State's offensive coordinator in the building, that they're going to take Jeanty. I think they're going to try and actually get Travion Henderson. So let's say that they pass on a running back. What do they then need? You have, obviously, defensive interior. You've got right tackle could be upgraded for the Raiders. But fundamentally, I think wide receiver is going to be the play here, or a cornerback in Will Campbell. Now, I have McMillan as a top 4 player personally. I think he's so damn good. I don't think that the league is as high on him as I am. So I'm not going to go with McMillan here to try and keep it a bit more realistic. I'm going to go with... I'm not taking Jahdae Barron here. Who are the other cornerbacks on the board? Because I think this could be where Will Johnson comes off the board for me. I think the league are going to be a bit higher on Will Johnson than consensus in terms of the media are. I think people are overthinking Will Johnson. I think the 40 times have kind of got in their heads a little bit. Yeah, it was a bit underwhelming, but the tape is really good. And I think that scouts are going to obviously done their due diligence with Johnson, and they're going to know he's a really good player. And I can see him going at 6 to 100%. Now the Jets. I know exactly what I'm going... do I know exactly what I'm going to do with the Jets? Well, here's the thing. I really like going tackle for the Jets because they are in a rebuild, right? They've got Justin Fields as a kind of bridge quarterback for the next 1 to 2 years. They have they have a good young core there, right? They've got Garrett Wilson. They've got... Sauce Gardner, obviously. They've got Breece Hall. They've got Olu Fashanu. They got Elijah Vera Tucker. They have a good kind of young core there. And I think that if you added another tackle, you've kind of sorted your offensive line for whenever you need your quarterback, whenever you're going to draft that next quarterback, right? Whoever that might be, maybe next year, maybe the year after. If he's going into a kind of semi-weathered offensive line, right, with not 2 rookies, but with, Olu Fashanu going into his, 3rd year or even 4th year, if we take an offensive tackle here, they'll be 1 year into their career as well. Elijah Vera Tucker, obviously, a few years into his. I just kind of think it makes sense. And that's where they're at as a team. And I think the Jets know that's where they're at as a team. Now, Will Campbell, I don't think really fits here, despite, again, he would be who I would be the best player on my board in terms of offensive line. I'm going to go with Josh Simmons here. I think it also plays into the Jets' progression as a team as well as Simmons. Like, he's coming off an injury. The Jets don't need someone that can come in and take them to the playoffs. This team is very much in that rebuild phase, like I said. And I can definitely see, it might not be Josh Simmons. I think Amar Membu would be a fantastic pick because they need right tackle, because Fashion is playing on the left, I believe. So I think Membu would be the home run hit for the Jets here. But I think Simmons is a really good offensive lineman, had a fantastic 2024, was almost flawless, allowed only 1 pressure from 158 pass blocking snaps. Obviously, they only played 5.5 games against Akron, Western Michigan, Marshall, etc. So the jury's still out as to how good he's going to be against better talent. But what we saw was fantastic. Now, the Panthers. I am kind of tempted to go in a little bit of a different direction for the Panthers here, actually. I am really high on Jihad Campbell. And this I think, has to be a defensive player. I actually, again, really like the idea of Teta McMillan here. Like, help out Bryce Young even more, that receiver core of Adam Thielen, Jalen Coker, and Xavier Legette isn't fantastic. I think they're all I like them all as receivers, but they're all quite limited if we're being honest with ourselves. And having McMillan, I think, would be just fantastic. But again, I don't think he's going to go at this point. So I'm going to go with a defensive player. Now, they need edge. And for me, I have the edges a bit higher than I think where they'll go. I'm really high on James Pierce Jr. I think he's the second best edge after Abdul Carter by a mile. And I really like Mike Green. But I'm going to go with what I would do here. I think rather than going predictive, I'm either going to take James Pierce Jr. or it's going to be Jihad Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama. I'm really high on him. I think he's a fantastic player. He can also be that edge rusher on rushing downs. He's a 3-down linebacker, can always stay on the field. But I do have James Pierce Jr. higher on my board, so I'm going to go James Pierce Jr. here. And again, I know that's not going to be, I know Dane Brugler and Daniel Jeremiah have him going at the back end of the first. I think that's crazy. This is what I would do, not a prediction for the Panthers, but James Pierce Jr. I think is a really underrated talent at this point, and I would consider him there to the Panthers. Obviously, a trade down would be ideal, but I don't know who's coming up for the guys left on the board here, if I'm being brutally honest with you. And at best, the Panthers are only going to trade back a few spots anyway, and I don't think the board's going to change that much. Now, the Saints have the future of the New Orleans Saints is in the balance here with the 9th overall pick. Derek Carr has a shoulder injury, which is bringing his 2025 availability into question. What they should do is they should just let Spencer Rattler either guide them to potentially playoff contention in a weaker NFC South, and then great, you've got a exciting young quarterback who you could potentially think about building around. Or more likely, he's going to take you to the first overall pick contention, and that's just the definition of a win-win. What the Saints, though, so for me, the Saints should go best player available, which now is definitely Tetra McMillan. However, I am worried. There are rumors swirling that this could be where Shedeur Sanders comes off the board if he doesn't go to the Giants at 3. That would be an unmitigated disaster. And it is also worth saying that both Sanders and Dart are invited and will be attending the first round of the NFL draft. That means that they've got it on fairly decent authority that there's a strong potential they will go in the first round, right? Will Levis, he went and he didn't, but for the most part, prospects don't put themselves through that. It's pretty embarrassing unless they are fairly confident their name's going to get called. I wouldn't call either Sanders or Dart's name at all in the first round, that is. But I can really see the Saints being stupid and resetting their rebuild clock. If I'm being honest with you, I can really see it. So as stomach churning as it is, and Saints fans, some of you might like it, some of you might not. I am going to go with Shedeur Sanders here, which is absolutely revolting. But let me know, Saints fans, or indeed if you're not a Saints fan, what you think of this pick in the comments. Immediate F for me. This would be an immediate F. I know I've got a bit of flack for that already on TikTok. It's just what the Saints are missing out on in terms of their potential quarterback next year. I just think that in this offense, Sanders isn't going to be able to be the best version of himself anyway. He needs a stronger supporting cast. He's a tofu quarterback. Surrounded with great talent, he can be good. Surrounded with bad talent, he's not going to be able to raise that bad talent, and he's going to be worse than that. Ugly pick, but it's more of a prediction. Now the Bears. Running back, defensive line, safety. I do think that Will Campbell could also be in play here for the Bears, but I think that's probably a bit of overkill. So what I'm going to do then is this where Ashton Jeanty comes off the board. I strongly suspect it is, if this is how the board falls on draft day. Considering Ben Johnson, he likes two things, right? He likes his offensive line and his run game. That's what he kind of thrived on in Detroit, and he'll want to replicate that as much as he can in Chicago, I'm sure. And DeAndre Swift is awful. I'm not going to mince my words. I'm not DeAndre Swift pilled. I don't rate him. Let's go with Jeanty here. Now, the 49ers. These guys have to go trenches either, and I'm looking at the offensive line more than anything else. And I do feel that Will Campbell is going to be the selection here. I think he's the best offensive lineman on the board. I've gone Kelvin Banks here previously, but I'm now kind of hesitant about Banks because of his balance issues and his susceptibility to basically just a push-pull move, right? He's way too, his body weight is way too over his toes. He's kind of bending at the waist rather than hinging at the waist and bending the knees. So I'm really not a fan of Kelvin Banks. He was at one point my fourth rated player overall. Definitely fallen a bit for me. But Will Campbell's a fantastic offensive lineman. He can play guard, he can play tackle, he can play really any of the 5 positions. And I think someone like Kyle Shanahan is going to value that really highly, especially when his team is going through a semi kind of retooling, not a rebuild, because they've still got obviously Ayuk, they've still got Bosa, well, Ayuk for now, they've got Bosa, and they've got their quarterback, whose name is suddenly Brock Purdy. So it's not a rebuild, but it's definitely a retooling. Now, the Cowboys, I kind of think the offensive line is going to be the pick for them. More and more. Like, I'm just kind of seeing that vision for the Cowboys, that they've always been a team that's invested in that offensive line. And I think their offensive line is really the weakest it's been for as long as I can remember, frankly. And I think Kelvin Banks can play guard and can play tackle. So I'm going to take Kelvin Banks here to the Cowboys. Now, the Dolphins. The board has not been kind to the Dolphins here because they need offensive line help and they ain't going to get it at 13. So, sorry, Miami fans. What are they going to do, though? So they've just said that Jalen Ramsey, it might be traded. So looking at the cornerbacks, oh my God, this is pretty hideous. Jahdae Barron? I'm not that high on Barron. I don't think the league's going to be that high on Barron. Defensive interior, I can get on board with that. I can get on board with defensive interior. What do I have the Dolphins as needing? I have them needing offensive line. Sorry, you're out of luck there. I have them needing, defensive interior. And cornerback. Yeah, Storm Duck is currently starting for them. Is it a Jahdae Barron in that defensive scheme? So according to our lads, Jalen Ramsey plays right cornerback and Kader Kohu's in the nickel. So I don't know if Jahdae Barron's going to be the pick there. I don't really see that value. So I'm going to go interior defensive line. They still really haven't replaced Christian Wilkins. They lost Raekwon Davis in free agency. I'm going to go with Kenneth Grant here. I think he is absolutely fantastic, Kenneth Grant. I think he's really underrated. He moves really well for his size. He's so raw still. He somehow wins without any real technique. He's just kind of winning on vibes. And if he can get properly coached, I think you're going to get a damn good player. Fantastic against the run. I think he's a developing pass rusher with good potential there. Colts. You know what? We've still got the tight ends on the board here. I didn't really realise that. We've still got Tyler Warren and we've still got Colston Loveland on the board. I have gone with Warren here so many times. I've gone with Loveland here as well on occasion. But I kind of love the idea of going Jihad Campbell here. Like, they obviously have the Bengals defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo. The offensive side of the ball has enough weapons. Maybe not for someone like Anthony Richardson, but it's got A.D. Mitchell, it's got Michael Pittman, it's got Josh Downs. That's definitely not a need. So I'm gonna go with the linebacker from Alabama here. I'm gonna go with Jihad Campbell, and I think he, as I said, is such a good player. I mentioned it earlier, 3-down linebacker. He can make plays at the line of scrimmage. He can cover. He can rush the passer. I think he's fantastic. The Falcons. Again, I'm going to do the same thing that I've done with the Falcons so many times because I don't know what else they're doing if not going edge. And I think Mike Green is really good. I don't care that he plays for Marshall. He put he put the nastiest pass rush move out of anyone in this class on an Ohio State tackle. So miss me with the whole competition level malarkey. He can be an alpha edge rusher, which the Falcons haven't had for genuinely decades, it feels like. It just has to be. I know they have wide receiver needs. I know they might have linebacker needs. I think Jihad Campbell for them would also be in play. But Mike Green is a damn good player. Now, the Cardinals. What are the Cardinals going to do? So they did a great job in free agency. I think guard, yes. This could be. It depends if they really want to go all out and just have that offensive line just on lock, which I kind of like. It's that Gray Zabel pick. I mean, who else would it be? I mean, cornerback. I just don't think the value for corners there. I'm going to go with Gray Zabel. My highest ranked interior offensive lineman. He's down as a tackle because that's what he played at North Dakota State. He's going to be a guard, or maybe even a center, but definitely a guard. I think he's 6'6", so he's a little bit tall for being a center, but he's just so good. His grip strength is fantastic. When he gets hold of you, it's like a vice. He's not letting go. He's nasty. Got that mentality. I'll keep it PG. That nasty person mentality, which you want your offensive line to have. Now the Bengals, unfortunately, they're not looking good, Rev. It's not looking good, Brev. They've got, usually I go defensive line, and I have done that before with Donovan Ezeraku. Linebackers, there's only Jihad Campbell, I think, will be the only linebacker taken in the first. I don't see another one, and there's not one that's on my board. Guard's not there either. This just has to be. This has to be a defensive player. And so I'm going to go Donovan Ezeraku. He pairs nicely with Trey Hendrickson. Won't be the one, which I don't think Donovan Ezeraku, because of his lack of power profile, is going to struggle to be that alpha guy. But opposite Hendrickson, as a more like technical, refined, deep bag of pass rush moves kind of pass rusher, I think that's a really good compliment. Now, the Seahawks fans, I feel like even when it's not a mock draft that I do, and it's just a mock draft that anyone else is doing, you kind of hate every pick they make. And I hate to break this to you, but I feel like you hate it because you are in this position, which is where you're staring down the barrel of reaching for a player. And that's because your team has put themselves in this position. You've got Sam Darnold, who is very susceptible to interior pressure, and you have arguably the worst interior offensive line in the league. Graves Abel would definitely be the pick. And I think it's likely on draft that he's on the board, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that he's off the board, as is the case here. I mean, you've got the Bengals and the Cardinals picking ahead of you, who both need interior offensive line. So what are you going to do? We can have a look at, we can have a look at someone like a Donovan Jackson. Where is he a tackle as well listed on this? He must be. We can have a look at Donovan Jackson. Is it a reach? Yeah, it's a reach. But it would be a force multiplier for Sam Darnold. Edge, I don't really love the edges that are on the board. I'm way lower on Shamar Stewart these days than I was before. Yeah, guys, I don't know. Seahawks fans, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I don't think Donovan Jackson will be there. When are your next picks as well? 50. Oof. I mean, you can trade up. Look, I'm gonna go for it. Seahawks fans, you can let me know what you think in the comments, and please do. I hope this doesn't happen to you, because it would be a bad pick. But I don't see how you can get out of a scenario like this without getting one. I mean, it's this reaching on Donovan Jackson, who I'm going to draft here, who I do think is actually really good, by the way, just not quite a player that you'd like to take at 18 overall. But I do think he is really good. He does offer inside-outside flexibility as well. He is going to be a guard at the next level, I think, though, and showed that he can play tackle. He saved Ohio State season. Maybe he can save the Seahawks season next year. But I think that reaching on a tackle in the first round is the better scenario than leaving the draft without having addressed that, is what I think. Now, the Bucks. This would be the Jihad Campbell selection 100% if he's on the board. And I think the second best thing for them is Jahdae Barron. I think he's that zone corner that can play in that kind of defensive system that they run in Tampa Bay. He's the best version of him when he's got his eyes on the quarterback and is playing off coverage. So for that reason, I don't think he's going to be that. I don't think he's going to be taken much earlier than this. He's not a press man, covered press man corner who's going to eradicate a team's wide receiver one. He's not that guy. So I think having him at 7 personally is a bit rich for me. But I think 19 is fair value for him. Now, the Broncos. This could be... the Broncos have put themselves in a position to draft the best player available with their off-season that they've had so far with free agency. And this is Tetra McMillan, I think, is coming off the board here for me. I think it's a great fit with a young, upcoming quarterback in Bo Nix with a not fantastic wide receiver core. They obviously lost Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick in the offseason, never really replaced them. They still have Cortland Sutton, McMillan as a complement to that, and will play that Z role instead of that X role. I think will work really nicely. I think that's a really good pick. And Bo Nix, hey, look, the Broncos, honestly, turnaround for the century. Now the Steelers, right? What are they doing with Aaron Rodgers? Let's work under the assumption that they do sign Rodgers. I've not heard anything about that guy for the last 4 weeks, it seems. He's in some heart-eating mud or something, I don't know. Let's assume they have Aaron Rodgers. I think they're working on that assumption as well. I think it would be overkill to draft a quarterback here and then also sign Rodgers. So we're going to say they've got Rodgers. Now, what are the Steelers going to do? I mean, God, this team is just aggressively mid these days, isn't it? I love Mike Tomlin. I am a Mike Tomlin defender, but it's getting hard to defend him if he's going to keep kind of picking at 21 and not really doing anything in the postseason. But defensive line is pretty thin. They're thin at defensive tackle. So let's go with Walter Nolan. I don't have Walter Nolan as highly as this. He's top of the second round guy for me. But I do think he will be a first round pick when it's all said and done. And the Steelers need some more depth on their defensive line. And Walter Nolan is a Steelers player, right? He's going to detonate some offensive linemen in his time. Plays a bit like a headless chicken. Doesn't really know what to do when he does something really good, which is, 2-3 times a game. But he's not really a finisher. He's more of a kind of disruptor, I would say. Now the Chargers. It's a shame because McMillan would have been a great pick for them. But what I'm going to do for the Chargers, or am I going to do that for the Packers? Well, we've still got the tight ends on the board. We're being silly here. This is Tyler Warren. I know Colson Lum's on the board. Chargers fans, I can hear you already. Tyler Warren is better. I can't believe he's still here. Not out of the realm of possibility. Unlikely, but a sprint the card in scenario for the Chargers 100%. 100%. Fantastic player, can play every position. Wildcat quarterback. If, for you Justin Herbert deniers, maybe Warren can play quarterback. He can be fullback, running back, out wide as a wide receiver, in the slot as a slot receiver, in line as a tight end. He can literally do it all. I think he's a fantastic player, and I've never had him going this low. Now, the Packers. I'm going to do something which was previously quite crazy, but I think now people are kind of coming on to my wavelength. And I'm going to draft Jaden Higgins. Simply because the Packers need an alpha wide receiver 1. And I think Jaden Higgins has that potential to be that outside guy, be that X receiver. He's got good movement ability, he's 6'4", he's got good hands, only 2 drops, 58% contested catch rate. He's a really good player. He's a bit more of a projection than McMillan, than obviously Travis Hunter at wide receiver, but he is my wide receiver 3. And I'm not afraid to admit that. Now, the Vikings. What are the Vikings going to do? I kind of like Malachi Starks to them. I know he doesn't have that pass rushing ability that I think Brian Flores will value, but I'm kind of over this Nick Emanwari in the first round hype. I'm going to be honest with you. I am. He's not even my second highest safety. So I'm not going to draft Emanwari here. I kind of think that Starks is such a good player. And, the interior defensive line, it kind of needs help. I mean, what do I have the Vikings as needing? Running back is in play here. I think running back is definitely in play here, actually. Over Starks. I'm going to go with... I'm liking how this draft's shaping out, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. But if I do say so myself, I feel like I'm cooking here. I'm going to go with Marlon Hampton. He is, in any other class, the clear-cut RB1. He is also... I think he kind of fits what the Vikings are as a team really well. He's that 6'1" downhill thumper. No one person is bringing him down. It needs to always be multiple people in on the tackle to bring this guy down. Just got fantastic production. Got a great top speed. He is a huge upgrade to what it feels like the Vikings have had post Dalvin Cook, really, and even probably a year before they got rid of him. Right, now it's my Texans, and God. I'm a fan of the Texans, right? So I can say this is an absolute bloody mess. And it kind of has to be offensive line, which is crap because it's going to be Josh Conley Jr., I guess. Which is not fantastic. We do also need wide receiver. I don't hate Luther Burden here, but he wouldn't be my pick. So am I going to go for another... You know what? Look, my team, I'm going to do what I want my team to do. They're probably going to have to address offensive line. If there's anyone on the board, if there's a Josh Simmons on the board, I'd love him. If there's Kelvin Banks, I'll take him as well, happily. At 25, that is. But considering they're all off the board, I'm going to do what I would do. Would I do what I would do? My next ranked wide receiver is Carl Williams, which is quite the statement, I know. And at 25, considering his average draft position is 108, is also a reach. But am I going to be loyal to my board? I mean, like Carl Williams with Nico Collins. Come on. But we can get a receiver in the second. We can get a receiver in the second round. We can. So I'm going to be responsible. But let it be known that I wouldn't hate that, right? Let it be known I wouldn't hate that. Let's go with what I think is more likely going to happen. We're just going to have to reach on an offensive lineman, which will be Josh Conley Jr. Now, the Rams. I'm going to present to you an argument that for any other team, taking a quarterback here would be a bad pick. Really, for any other team apart from the Titans at 1 with Cam Ward, I think taking a quarterback in the first round would be a bad pick. However, the Rams are never going to be picking high enough to draft a top quarterback with Matthew Stafford, right? Unless after Matthew Stafford retires, maybe next year, maybe the year after, or moves on, they have a bad year and they fall into one. With McVay and the offense they have and the talent they have, I don't really see that happening. I think their floor as a team is always going to be outside the top 10. So I'm looking at Jackson Dart here from Ole Miss. And again, if any other team was considering this, I would scream. But I think for the Rams, it does make sense. I don't think they're going to be able to draft Dart in the second with where they're going to be picking unless they trade up. And I don't really think that that's an option, but it's not one where they control their own destiny. And I think Dart is not ready to start right away. I think he's got good tools, but he's unproven in an offense that even half resembles what an NFL offense is going to resemble. So, because in Ole Miss, it's a lot of half-field reads, you use loads of play action, lots of predetermined reads. If his first read wasn't there, he'd just take off with his legs. A bit like Sam Howell in that respect. So Dart to any other team would be bad. But I do think that he would sit for a minimum of a year behind Matthew Stafford with a great offensive mind in Sean McVay. Matthew Stafford as well seems I hate this trope, by the way. I hate the whole, he's going to learn from his quarterback. I think for the most part, that's kind of rubbish, right? A lot of quarterbacks have said explicitly, that's not my job to teach them. However, I kind of think Matthew Stafford would be that guy that wouldn't mind doing that. He's not like Aaron Rodgers. He's not like Joe Flacco. So I think he would chip in. And I think give Dart 1-2 years on the bench and he could be the heir apparent to Matthew Stafford. So I'm going to go with Dart. And again, guys, he's at the draft. Would this be what I would do purely? No, it actually wouldn't. But I'm kind of trying to piece together the clues that we've got, kind of those breadcrumbs that's on the floor. Dart's is at the draft. So I'm going to go with Dart here. Again, a reach for another team. But for the Rams, I kind of wouldn't hate it, I'm not going to lie. Now the Ravens, I know exactly who I'm going to draft for them. Starks. I mean, Starks and Hamilton, I would love. But you know what? I'm actually a bit higher on now than before. I've really flip-flopped on my edge rankings, guys. I used to think that I was a Shamar Stewart or a Michael Williams. Well, actually, I do like Michael Williams. But I kind of think that Nick Scouton is actually more of a Ravens player and fits more what they do as a team than Michael. But coming from Georgia, I'm going to go with Michael Williams there for the Ravens. I think Scouton, I honestly might have Scouton higher than Michael Williams when it's all said and done. Because I think he's not going to be the player that he was at Texas A&M. He'll be the player he was at Purdue. Now, the Lions. They need wide receiver. But I think this is also going to have to be edge. I mean, given kind of what this team has lost, you really want Aiden Hutchinson back and you really want that defense firing. So this is going to be Nick Scouton for me. This might be Shamar Stewart on draft day, but I actually think that Nick Scouton is going to be a better player at the next level than he was at college. I don't really know if Shamar Stewart is going to be that. I saw a cut-up of Shamar Stewart going against Will Campbell, all of the reps they had. It didn't do anything. And Will Campbell has shorter arms. Shamar Stewart is a height, weight, length freak, right? One of the most athletic edge rushers we've seen ever at the combine. Didn't count for anything. And a lot of people are questioning if Will Campbell's even going to be an NFL level tackle. So I'm kind of out on Shamar Stewart at this point, guys. I don't know if he'll be in this first round mock. He might when it's all said and done, don't get me wrong, on the actual draft day, but I'm just calling it how I see it. Now, the Commanders. What are the Commanders going to do? I find this team quite difficult to draft for. They need wide receiver, maybe. They've got McLaurin, but De'Ami Brown isn't going to stop me from drafting that. Defensive line, they need an edge. This could be Shamar Stewart. As much as it pains me, this could be Shamar Stewart. It's more of a predictive pick if the board did fall like that. All right, we'll take Shamar Stewart, but let it be known that I really would not hate this guy falling outside the first round. I just don't think he will. Now, the Bills. The Bills. So I think they need an outside wide receiver, but that's not Luther Burden. That's not a Mecraig Buka. Is it Matthew Golden? Unfortunately, it might be. They also need an edge to kind of help get the most out of Joey Bosa, who at this point in his career is probably going to play about 4 games, but you kind of want that for the playoffs. But the edge value really isn't there at this point, right? Braden Swinson, I would actually consider taking. I'm not going to lie. I would consider Braden Swinson. I'm going to bank that one. Linebacker, no. Cornerback, potentially. I mean, the corners are still on the board here. I'm going to go with Braden Swinson, which I know a lot of people might find that surprising, but I do think he's a fringe first-round talent. And I do think that with his power profile, he's got a very high floor. I think of him like a very watered-down Jared Verse. And by being in a rotation with a strong defensive line, I think Braden Swinson would be a player that would kind of sneakily be in the contention for Defensive Rookie of the Year, getting a few clean-up sacks here and there. He would also be a force multiplier and helping Joey Bosa just not have to be on the field the whole time. Let's do it. Braden Swinson. Now the Chiefs. Guard, tackle, defensive line. I mean, again, another team that, like, this is the thing, offensive line is such a big need for so many teams, right? You know, Seahawks have to kind of draft one. Texans have to kind of draft one. Chiefs have to kind of draft one. And all of these guys are outside of the range where we're really going to get a top guy. Arion Tiersary is not a first-round player. He's not as low as he is on my board as he is here, 68. He's like more in the 40s. But who's on the defensive? I know who I'm going to take here. I'm going to be a bit more true to my board, and I'm going to go with Derek Harmon. Oh, they've got Omar Norman-Lott at 27. I love Omar Norman-Lott, by the way. I do really like Omar Norman-Lott. And as a designated pass rusher next to Chris Jones, I think Derek Harmon's a more reliable player that can play more downs. So I'm going to go with Derek Harmon there. Now the Eagles. I mean, this is a classic Eagles board, how it's fallen, right? They've got Malachi Starks, they've got Luther Burden on the board, they've got Mecraig Buka, they've got Matthew Golden, and they've got Jalen Walker and Colston Loveland. I mean, Colston Loveland's going to be a first-round player. I've kind of fumbled that, probably, by not putting him in there. But look, you know, this is the thing, is that looking back, maybe the Commanders, he probably should have gone in the late 20s, if I'm being honest, Colston Loveland. But hey, look, crazy things have happened on draft day. Did I forget about him? Yes. Is this possible? Also, yes. Unlikely, but possible. So you know what I'm going to do? For me, now, yes, look, people are going to say, oh my God. First of all, Malachi Starks, I love him. He would definitely be a first-round player for me. However, I do think it's well within the range of possibilities for Starks that he does not go in the first round, right? Brian Branch didn't, and I think Brian Branch had a stronger profile in terms of his blitzing ability, which Starks does not have. So I really think it's well within the realms of possibility that Starks falls. Luther Burden, again, I think he could fall. I personally have a bit of hesitancy about him and Egbuka and Golden. I've just done a wide receiver rankings video, so if you want to hear more about my thoughts on those guys, check that out. But I would be fine leaving Burden, Egbuka, and Golden on the board here if I'm the Eagles, or if I'm the Eagles, yeah. But if I'm looking at then the realistic point, Jalen Walker as another Georgia defender, right? Edge rusher, super athletic. It just fits the bill so well. Or, I mean, the Eagles have also been known to just draft players and make strength stronger. And Colston Loveland, whilst they obviously have Dallas Goedert, would be more of like a big slot player that can do 2 tight end stuffs. So for me, it's now going to be Jalen Walker or Colston Loveland. And I think the more Howie Roseman pick is going to be the value with Loveland, maybe. I mean, it depends where you have Walker or Loveland. Let me know in the comments. What would you do if you're Howie Roseman right now? Would you go Starks, Burden, Egbuka, Golden, Walker, or Loveland? I'm going to go with Loveland. So, as you can see, next to me right now are all of the picks from this first round mock. Now, yes, there are some players that aren't in there. That's because it's a mixture of what I would do and prediction. So by my board, some of those players wouldn't be in there, some of them would be, but that's the nature of mock draft. We're testing out different possibilities. I actually really quite like what I've done here. I'm not going to lie, blow my own trumpet. But Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you love it? Do you hate it for your team? Do you love other teams' picks? And make sure you subscribe for more draft content. We're only a few days away now, really, in that final run-up. But I've been your host, Dom Corbs. This has been Corbs NFL. I'll see you in the next video.